One of the very common situations when I would resort to using an opacity mask would be when I want to create a reflection. So if you have a glossy surface and an object is placed on that, and you would like to have a nice reflection underneath, for that, opacity masks are best. So what I will do first of all is to select this backpack and use the reflection tool. The shortcut for that is O. Then I'm going to click at the bottom edge of this shape and then start click and dragging it down. You see it's going to create already like a reflected version of it, but to maintain a perfect symmetry, I'm going to hold down Shift key, and don't forget to also hold down the Alt or Option key to make sure that it's not going to move the original object, but it's going to create a copy for this, and that's going to serve as our reflection. Don't forget, when we create a mask, we need the mask itself. In this case, I'm going to use the rectangle tool. Pressing M on the keyboard, it's a quick way to get to it. And this is going to serve as the fading or transition rectangle that we will use for our opacity mask. So to turn this into a gradient, I will use the gradient panel, and I'm just going to choose the standard black-white rectangle. And I'm going to press G to switch to the gradient tool to adjust my gradient. So what we want is something like this, where we have black at the bottom, which means that's already completely hidden, this part, and then it gradually fades in as it goes up and becomes visible. We can always adjust the gradient and the shape later, but for now it works fine. And most importantly, the rectangle is on top. Remember, mask has to be always on top. So select these two objects together, and then from the transparency panel, we click on Make Mask. And if I click away, you can see how this works. I think it actually looks perfectly fine, but if you want to amend it, you can select this object and either select the opacity mask or the shape itself if you want to make any amends to it. But let's say we want to amend the mask, then I would click on it here in the transparency panel and maybe switch to the gradient tool, and then I can further adjust the visibility, just adjusting these points here. I can also double check the color that was used here. It wasn't actually completely black, so we can also decide to turn it black, and then if we want, we can show a little bit more of this and have a transition, something a bit more subtle like that. Now if I want to change the overall opacity of the object, that's also possible. Again, from the transparency panel, just simply reduce the overall opacity. If you feel like it was a little bit too intense for just a simple reflection, you can always do that, and then this is how it's going to look. So now that we've seen examples for both clipping and opacity masks, in the next video I'm going to show you an exercise in which you can practice using both of these techniques in the same design.